The NBA postseason is in full swing, and every series has had one game so far, so this is a pretty good time to look at what we're buying and what we're selling from the National Basketball Association. Let's begin with what we are buying, and much like hockey, the number one seeds just better. In the East, anyway, we'll get to the West one in a second. But in the East, Boston is just simply too much for the Miami Heat. This should be a 4 or 5 game series. It should not be close. Boston was kind of just playing with their food here in game one, and I don't care without Jimmy Butler, whatever. Boston is a superior team. Now, maybe this is a good one for the psyche for Boston that they are able to in some way exorcise a demon from a season ago, even though it's not the same team for Miami by any stretch, but it's the same jersey and the same logo, and you can see Jimmy Butler there, and so maybe that's just a bit of a from a Boston standpoint that they can get that one out of the way early. But yeah, like that, I am 100% buying that Boston is worlds ahead of where the Miami Heat are sorry, right now. The New York Knicks, I am buying that they are better than the Philadelphia 76ers, and I am buying that they are going to win this series. McBride batumed Philadelphia in game one, where Philly had Miami, or Philly was struggling against Miami, and then the Stars aren't doing it, so let's get this random guy who pops in every once in a while. Same thing happened here with McBride. Brunson isn't having a very good game. Offensively, they're really struggling. Hart played poorly until the fourth quarter. McBride's a plus 37. And he comes out and just ruins Philadelphia and lights them up. And now you only need 3 good games from Brunson to win this series. It just feels so nice from a Knicks standpoint to be able to have that. And then key minutes down the stretch, Hart hits a couple of big shots. And this is, I think, the advantage of the Knicks playing their guys and really going for that second seed down the stretch here in the East, because they are battle tested a little bit. Now, no one's going to say game 80 in the regular season is the same as the Eastern Conference Finals, but I do think Hart benefited from playing in all of those games down the stretch and having all of those games mean something. For Philadelphia, they're going to need a little bit more from Embiid. They're going to need anything from Buddy Hield, who was brought in to kind of offset some stuff, and I think he played 11 minutes, and none of them were good. So there's some stuff on the Philadelphia end that can get figured out, but I am buying the Knickerbockers advancing in this one. I'm also buying Damian Lillard is for real. I think we kind of forgot out in Portland how good of a playoff performer this guy can be. He was lights out in this first game, and I think that was a bit of an awakening, like, the Pacers can't stop anyone, and this guy can't be stopped. And it's a real battle, and holy smokes, this guy just lit him up. So I think this is for real from Damian Lillard. When it comes down to this time of year, this guy can score. And I don't know if that's going to be enough necessarily. We'll get to that in the sell portion, but I am buying that Damian Lillard is for real and at least can be good enough to maybe get Milwaukee past the Pacers all on his own. I'm also buying that the Magic can't score a lick. That was a dreadful offensive performance by the Orlando Magic in game one of that series against the Cleveland Cavaliers. And the problem is that's what it's going to be. Banchero can only do so much. This team offensively is just not good. Their identity is on the defensive side of the basketball, and they need to flex that maybe a little bit more in game two. Although I thought defensively they played fine. It wasn't smothering, but it was a fine performance. When you hold a team to under 100 in today's NBA, you're doing all right. But yeah, I am buying what we saw offensively from these guys. Like the Knicks, you can say, yeah, Brunson didn't play well. Hart didn't play well until the fourth. A couple other teams, you can kind of explain some things away. That's not with Orlando. What you saw is what you're going to get from just a putrid offensive team. I'm also buying that the Pelicans are going to be a problem for the Thunder. Throughout the stretch run here, we had been saying that the Pelicans are going to be could have been a tough matchup for the LA Clippers, just given their size. And it's funny that the Clippers' size ends up being an issue against Dallas in game one. But I didn't think it would be as much of a presence against the Thunder. And JV, I thought, was really good in this game, and thought they could have used him a little bit more down the stretch. And this was always the note on the Thunder, is that they're going to have a tough time against some of these bigs. And New Orleans is a big team, and they're without their big guy in Zion. But I do think that the Pelicans are going to give the Thunder a real test here in the first round. And I think that'll be good. Like, this is a great learning experience for the Thunder. And it's weird to be talking about the 1 seed as having a learning experience, but this is a good learning experience for this team to be able to grow from this and really learn what playoff basketball is all about. The Denver Nuggets are just better than the Lakers. Going to put that in there as well. This is going to be a close series. But I am buying that the Nuggets are better than the Lakers. We knew that coming in, but we're going to continue down that path. We know what this series. We know who has the edge in this series, and it's not the Lakers. Jokic, especially there in the late third, early fourth. Like, this game was tied. I think it was 69-69. Nice. And they came out and just annihilated them. Complete dominance. Jokic took over. He was excellent, even getting things done on the defensive side of things. I'm also buying what we saw from AD in this game for the Lakers. He was phenomenal. I'm also buying that LeBron needs some help because D'Lo was awful in this game. Reeves had a couple of moments, but there was nothing from D'Lo, and LeBron was just distributing, and they're going to need. They're going to need Killer Instinct Braun to show up against this Nuggets team if they're going to have any hope. And the last one is buying the breakout of Anthony Edwards. Not that he needed to break out. People already recognize this guy as a superstar, but you could see in this game he took it to another level and he feeds off of that Minnesota crowd so well. But this was just like the next coming of a superstar with Anthony Edwards being that guy and being that damn good, lighting things up there against the Phoenix Suns. Things that I'm going to sell. We'll start with the Suns. I'm selling that they're going to be overwhelmed by the Timberwolves. That's kind of what it looked like in game one there in that middle stretch where the T-Wolves just kind of pulled away. There's too much scoring on the Phoenix side of things to let that happen continuously. They ended up getting cold at the same time Ant went hot. I do think that they're going to bounce back and make this a close series. It did make me change. I initially had Phoenix as the winner. I didn't do a playoff preview this year, which is great because a few of those picks would look bad now. But I am buying that that Phoenix is going to make a series out of this. But I'm now buying that Minnesota's probably going to win it. Back in the East, I am selling that the Pacers are done. Offensively, they just had a bad game. Siakam was the only one who was really doing anything for this group offensively. That is not this team. They did not play, I think, close to what their potential was here in game one. And so I think that there is going to be a real bounce back from this Pacers team, especially if Giannis stays out for any length of time. I still think the Pacers are going to be a problem for the Bucks. I also am selling the Donovan Mitchell renaissance for the Cleveland Cavaliers. It's great. It's one game. And he definitely heated up, but I do think that eventually we will see the Mitchell from last series where he kind of got big brothered by the Knicks a little bit. I do think that Mitchell shows up. Although I will say for Cleveland, this was a big first game for them because the two problems they had in the playoffs last year was Mitchell was just exposed in that one. And I think the perception of him around the media and fans anyway really took a hit. And the other one is Mitchell Robinson just took Jared Allen's lunch money. And that was a big problem. And Allen had some huge plays in this game that really got the ball rolling for Cleveland. So it's nice that they did that. I'm not buying it going into the next one. I'm selling that the Mavs are done. I think it was just an off day. Everyone had a bad game. Luka had a bad game. Harden probably played his best game of the series, and maybe even Westbrook played his best game of the series. So I don't think that there is a real cause for concern for the Mavs. I mean, look, you lose by like 100. You should be concerned a little bit. But I don't think that you really need to push the panic button if you are the Dallas Mavericks just yet. You can panic that they weren't ready for a playoff game, but they just weren't ready. And I think they will be here for game two.